Hey guys, welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show. We give you all the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is Perri Nemiroff.
Hey guys, welcome back. We've got a brand new movie talk for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed your long weekend. I know I did. It was really nice. And you know what? I hope you're ready for a Mark sandwich with a Schnepp on top today, because that's what you're getting. Ashley, who's joining me?
Also here is Jon Schnepp.
Hey, what's up? We're back. Had a great extended weekend. Happy to be here. Hey, Phoenix, Arizona. You're very hot.
Also here is Mark Reilly.
Yes, happy to be here. Coming in clutch for movie talk. But I can't wait for this to be over so I can go play some Friday the 13th.
Also, here's Mark Ellis.
Ashley, ask me what I did this weekend.
What'd you do this weekend?
Did literally nothing. Nothing. I went to Big Bear, and that was fun because there's a lot of bears and not a lot of people. More bears than people. Good combo.
That's kind of a lie, because yesterday was still technically the weekend, and last night was a very busy night on the interwebs. So, Ashley, can you tell me why?
Oh, I sure can. Before she was Wonder Woman, she was Diana, Princess of the Amazons, trained to be an unconquerable warrior. Raised on a sheltered island paradise, Diana meets an American pilot who tells her about the massive conflict that's raging in the outside world. Convinced that she can stop the threat, Diana leaves her home for the first time. Fighting alongside men in a war to end all wars, she finally discovers her full powers and true destiny.
All right, so the big thing that happened last night, which you probably noticed, is that the embargo lifted on Wonder Woman. There are so many reviews. I can't even begin to tell you how many screenshots I got that were just like all of us in different thumbnails doing the Wonder Woman pose, because you had to do the Wonder Woman pose, come on. But anyway, we're going to do a box office report later in the show, but consider this your opening this week, because Wonder Woman opens this week, and damn, those reviews are really high. I, for one, very much enjoyed it myself. I will say, though, I did not expect that Rotten Tomatoes score to be so high. I know it's still early. There's more screenings here in LA coming up soon, so that number is going to shift no matter what. But wow, huge congrats to Patty Jenkins and the whole team for starting this thing off so strong. Ellis, I know you saw the movie. What do you think of the movie yourself and all the reviews that are coming out?
I saw the movie and I saw the review craze that happened last night, and it's very rare that everybody, the general public at large, becomes aware of an embargo to the point when they're all waiting. I mean, I'm sure all of us were getting tweets and social media messages like, I can't wait until 9 p.m. PST when I can see the review finally, and then getting all those screenshots. That's why Jeremy Johnson's not here today, because he's drowning in views, because we posted our reviews last night and everybody went crazy looking at all of them. I guess that I'm the loser because I'm the only one that didn't wear one of the headbands in the review, which is annoying because I have a forehead made for that headband and I didn't get a chance to use it. What I did get a chance to is see Wonder Woman, and I felt like everybody else, and it's always nice to have your opinion validated by a lot of other people in your industry. Personally, I don't care what anybody else thinks of a movie. I'm secure enough in my own fandom to say I like this or didn't like it, and I can enjoy it based on those merits. But I think Wonder Woman brought so much to the table, and it's one of those things where not only am I excited to see the movie again, but I also can't wait to do the Schmo spoiler review and just to talk about this with the fans once they get a chance to see it, because there's so much in here. There's so much in here that we can talk about, but I don't want to give away anything, so I'm kind of cagey with my comments. Needless to say, Christian and I are both one of those Rotten Tomatoes scores that is upping it to 96%.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I liked the movie quite a bit. I was not wholly positive on it, which I very rarely am on any movie. That's another thing that people keep coming at me and asking. It's like, oh, if you didn't like that little bit of it, then you weren't overwhelmingly positive about it. But no, it's the exact opposite. I can pick on certain things and still like the movie overall. And that's exactly how I felt about it. This is such a significant step in the right direction. And the one reason that I kind of can understand why the Rotten Tomatoes score overall is so high, because we talk about this all the time. When you understand how Rotten Tomatoes works, it gets a fresh score if it's a positive review. It doesn't mean that it affects the tomato meter differently if it's a perfect score or even if it's just barely fresh. And one of the coolest things I think about Wonder Woman is just the fact that it's so positive and likable overall. And that right there is what's going to lead the large majority of people who go to see this movie to enjoy it, which is great. We're also always talking on the show about why embargoes exist and when they are used best. this is a prime example of how to embargo a movie and when is the precise time to lift it, because this is one of the only instances I think I can ever remember in my entire career when the lifting of an embargo is viewed as such a communal event where we all know it's happening, the fans know it's happening, and it's got almost like that 1-2 punch. It's not just the positive reviews, it's just that event that we could all take part in together, and it kind of made just the opening of Wonder Woman and the fact that it's coming into theaters soon even more exciting because it all happened at once and it was this big flood of positivity. I'm really hyped, not just because I liked the movie, but I really like the feeling that it's creating overall. I know you guys are still waiting for your screening.
What?
So.
They haven't seen it? Were you busy cashing your Marvel checks?
Listen,
Yeah.
me and Squargles here can't wait to see Wonder Woman.
Squargles?
Yes, this is my cat Ewok, Squargles. Tell me it doesn't look like a cat. Anyway, all about this Wonder Woman thing. I didn't get to see this movie yet, but hopefully, if I don't see the screening tonight, I will definitely see it like a normal person on Friday, and then you'll hear my review then. I can't wait. I'm very excited that all of my colleagues loved it and had so many positive things to say about it. I particularly have not watched or read any of their reviews, nor will I, because I want to have my own flavor, and I don't want to be like have any influence at all. Usually if it's some movie that I'm looking forward to, I'll skim reviews really quickly. But everything that I've seen, like especially like just the base Rotten Tomatoes, like 96%, that's crazy awesome. So I'm looking forward to seeing this film. Very high expectations. I always got to lower them a little bit. Like I usually do that to myself right before any movie. I'm like, man, this is gonna suck, and I go in because you don't want to be like, I can't wait for this to change my life. It's not gonna change your life. It's a movie. Relax. You know, so
I
you got
think
to
Wonder
lower
Woman
that.
gets as close to life changing for some people, in all honesty, as you can possibly get with a comic book movie. I think this movie has a lot of social implications. I think it's got a lot of progressiveness going for it. So as close as you can get to having your life changed by a movie, then I think Wonder Woman is that.
I
That's
can
some big
kind of back
words.
that up though,
Really?
because
That's
and
amazing.
just look at the big difference it's going to make for the industry. I mean, we're about to have a female-led superhero movie directed by a female director hitting theaters this week that is not only crushing it with critics, but anybody who was looking at those long-range predictions a couple weeks ago where they're like, oh, it's going to be the lowest opening ever with 65 million. Reilly brought it up before. 100 million, is that still what you're predicting?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm kinda with you on
I
that.
truly believe that this movie now is going to cross 100 million opening weekend. I have nothing to back this up other than a 96% now on Rotten Tomatoes. Overwhelmingly positive. People are now saying, as of this moment, with Rotten Tomatoes, it is the highest rated superhero movie on Rotten Tomatoes, save for The Incredibles from Pixar, which is a superhero movie, but that's Pixar, and that isn't a fantastic movie. But this hype now, it has got me by the throat. I cannot wait to see this movie. I said it when the first trailer came out, and I'm like, this is my favorite trailer of the summer. I loved it. The Comic-Con experience was just incredible. And as we got more and more close to this release, and the more trailers I saw, and people, my friends, my colleagues seeing it, they're hyped. People are tagging me on Twitter, Reilly, have you seen it yet? And I'm like, shut up. No, I haven't seen it. I'm doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at reviews. I am just going from word of mouth. This feeling. I mean, Patty Jenkins thanked you on Twitter, Mark. I saw that. That was amazing.
Hey, Patty.
She is online. She is looking. She is thanking the fans. She is sharing pictures. I am seeing a picture of a little girl looking up at Wonder Woman on the billboard of Justice League. She's like, I don't care about these other heroes. I'm looking at Wonder Woman. This is something that is taking the industry by storm, taking the movie going public. The women are all over the place. I'm with you all. I cannot wait for this. 100 million plus opening. I think it'll barely squeak by, maybe 100, 101 million. That's my prediction. We'll see what happens.
I'm definitely leaning towards what you're saying now,
Yeah.
and not just because I liked the movie, but it's exactly what we're talking about right now. Critics like the movie. Look at this craze that's happening right now. Everyone's so excited about it. And then on top of that, it goes back to what I said before, that it's like, even if you find some bits of Wonder Woman that you don't like, overall, the message is so positive and encouraging and inspiring. That right there is going to lead more people to go see it, and that's also going to keep the cinema score super high, which will likely likely mean that it's going to have really long legs, and that means a whole lot of money overall. Wendy, I know you're itching to talk about Wonder Woman right now. So what do you think of the early reviews, and what do you think about it yourself?
I am so happy that overwhelmingly everybody was so positive about it. I went into this movie, and this was like on my highly anticipated list. Ever since Perri and I watched that Wonder Woman trailer back in Comic-Con last year, we're like, this is going to be it. This is going to be like a super successful movie, and I think it really will be. And I was kind of worried that I had overhyped it for myself, and at the screening on last week, I turned to Jeremy. I was like, I'm trying to not overhype, and he's like, look at you, you're dressed head to toe in Wonder Woman. You got a Wonder Woman dress, and you got a tiara on, you got earrings, you're hyped. And I was like, you know what, whatever, I'm hyped, I'm excited. And the movie delivered. It was solid. The directing, the writing, Patty Jenkins. Thank you, Gal Gadot. Thank you. I loved it, and I can't wait to see it again this week when it opens, and I'm really excited to see her in Justice League.
All right, guys. So,
Everybody's excited.
yeah.
I'm excited. Let's
That's
go see
the
it right
thing.
now. Can't.
God, I wish.
Yeah, I
Can't
mean,
see it.
I wish.
you look at like hype and how that can sometimes like taint your review of a movie once you finally get a chance to go see it. I don't find that to be a big risk with Wonder Woman, but I try not to give my review to. There's other people in the office that can't wait to talk to everybody else about a movie. I'm not one of those people, but I do think that Perri makes a great point when it comes to marketing the movie and having this embargo release. Maybe this is the way to do it, is that you have social media reactions, and once the studio can see that, hey, everybody seems to be liking this, even though they're not allowed to give a full review of it, maybe we should push that embargo up. You didn't have that ability with Suicide Squad because critics were so divided on whether they liked it or not. Because it got a universal social media reaction, I think the studio felt more comfortable pushing it up. So now you have all this flood of positive support, which is why I agree with Reilly. I think this could do $110, $115 million.
Oh, yeah. Well, let us know what you're thinking about Wonder Woman right now. And if you're excited, in the comments section, we're going to be talking about it more this week. We have the non-spoiler review up. Hopefully, we're going to do a spoiler review for you as well. So keep an eye out for all that. Right now, let's move on to another DC story. Ashley, what do we got?
In a recent interview with Cinema Blend, DCEU producer Charles Roven confirmed that Aquaman, currently in production in Australia, will be set after the events that happened in Justice League. Roven also praised the project's director James Wan for having a clear understanding of where he wants to take the story of Arthur Curry in a way that will still take into consideration everything that happened to the character prior to the solo film. Roven said, James Wan definitely knows where he's going with Aquaman, and that movie takes place in a world where Justice League happened and Man of Steel happened. Reilly, thoughts on Roven's comments about Aquaman being set after the events of Justice League?
Well, it's kind of a no-brainer as far as, sure, I get it. I like the clarification that it happens after Justice League. We have Wonder Woman coming out, obviously set way before the events of all the DCEU, and so we can't have Batman v Superman. We know what happens there. So it's going to be interesting because now my mind goes to Justice League and Aquaman and Jason Momoa and what is his story? How are we going to get, quote unquote, the origin of Aquaman? So I'm interested, that it kind of gives me a little bit more interest in Justice League as far as his character. So I get to see what his origin story is, if there's going to be one, what his arc is, and then what a great shared universe is doing, sets up the next movie, and in that case, it's going to be Aquaman. And so I'm really excited to see what does that mean for Superman? Is he going to be back in Justice League? We don't know that yet. What's Batman's part in this? Are we going to see some cameos set up for Aquaman after Justice League? So it's just kind of exciting to hear the thought process from Charles Roven and what he's thinking as far as the DCEU. So it just kind of adds to the hype for me.
Yeah, I kind of had the same reaction. I mean, obviously, it was either going to be set before or after, so I wasn't really all that surprised. And, given the fact that Wonder Woman is set before the events of BVS, I think it might be a refreshing approach to have Aquaman's solo movie be set after. One of the things actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I never brought up in my review is that I think it's really smart that they had set Wonder Woman before the events of BVS, because in BVS we see her as being super strong and she kind of knows what she's capable of, which made it really interesting to see her start out really kind of feeling everything out, and it kind of enhanced the character in a way that now when I go back and I watch her moments in BVS, I look at her differently, knowing where she came from. And I'm not saying that because, Aquaman should have taken this route too because it worked so well with Wonder Woman. I think they can achieve the same thing. And given his comments, it seems like they are making sure that the events of BVS aren't just referenced in the Aquaman movie, but they're felt. You're going to be able to see it in his character. And with a guy like James Wan, one of those quotes said, James Wan definitely knows where he's going with Aquaman. I mean, that's pretty obvious. I would hope he would, but it is nice to hear something like that being said out loud, because if he doesn't know that, oh boy. But I'm really excited now for Justice League. Not that I wasn't before, but I'm really excited to see Aquaman in Justice League because, you know, he is a new character. He needs a strong introduction to pave the way to another really strong solo movie. So I am hyped for this. Schnepp, what do you think?
Yeah, it would be weird if Roven was like, Juan is totally lost. He's out of his league. We don't know what's happening with Aquaman. It's a complete mess. Anyway, it'd be horrible. So, like, of course, that would be insane.
We just visited a set, and dude is drowning.
It's chaos. There's water everywhere. No one knows what's happening. Momoa's in a corner crying. It's chaos. Juan is, it'd be insane. We don't know when if it's before Justice League or after. Everything's,
70 minutes of the movie is him playing guitar.
Yeah, they're reading the script underwater. Every page is floating. It's chaos.
Let's just leave it there.
Yeah, that's all.
What's the next
that
story?
movie.
Yeah, I want to see. Yeah,
That's a good
Waterman
movie.
coming soon. I'm happy and excited. Like I've said this a million times now. It's so weird that every time I talk about Justice League, Aquaman is the thing I'm most excited about.
Right.
Which I would never, if you told me 3 years ago, be like, every time you talk about Justice League, you're gonna be like, man, Aquaman looks badass. This or that. It's like, you know, the guy who talks to fish was a joke literally 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Not to everybody, there's some real diehard Aquaman fans, but kind of globally, everyone thinks of Super Friends when they think of Aquaman. Now they don't. Now they think of like a weird, bearded, long-haired badass as Aquaman. That picture of Jason Momoa is just literally like what Conan should have looked like. I mean, that's what they should have done when Momoa was Conan. So sort of he's like, look, man, I'm Dragoing it up. I'm bringing my badass, and I'm bringing a little bit of that surfer kind of thing to it. So it's, you know, that characterization just from the trailers alone from Justice League made me really want to see Justice League more than I thought I did, and it's because of Aquaman. So that James Wan is doing this Aquaman movie, bringing in so many of the cool elements from the Marianas Trench, all these different things that only Wan would be like, let's bring in all those freaky monsters from, you know, these comic book episodes. Or I can't wait to see what he does with this movie.
Right, the origin story of Aquaman is secondary, in my opinion, to the origin story of where we came from with Aquaman being this cultural gag, if you will, like from Super Friends. There's a great bit on the Sketch of the State about it on Family Guy. Cut to today when I unfroze my gym membership so I can start training in time to be Aquaman for Halloween. In 2018. It's going to take a full year and a half, but I'm going to get there eventually. I love this idea, Perri, because it makes sense. Like, look, at the end of the day, we love movies and we celebrate this stuff. We get into the world, but we're still dummies. And when we go see Justice League, it's hard to backtrack after that and say, no, all of this is a prequel to Justice League. So what I'm curious about hearing this news is how much Zack Snyder wanted to go into the backstory of Aquaman and the Flash and Cyborg, because we're going to need some sort of origin story for all three of those characters. We know Wonder Woman pretty well because she's had a standalone movie. We know Batman and we know Superman. So getting to know these other members of the Justice League, I wonder how much in that film we're going to get. I'd be up for a lot. I'd be up for up to an hour of here's 20 minutes of Aquaman's backstory. Sure. Here's Cyborg. Here's the Flash. Here's how we all come together. I think that they're going to tell it in a cool, inventive way. But having James Wan get that standalone movie, he can go back and he can say, oh, this is what happened, and then you flash forward. That's a lot easier to do than making Aquaman the entire film a prequel to Justice League.
Hey, can I ask a question? Because you guys saw Wonder Woman. This isn't a spoiler question, but
Air false snap.
is there like any connective tissue with Justice League or anything? Or
So
is
the
there a
Punisher
post- is there
shows
a-
up, and it's really weird when
Mark, the
Spider-Man
Punisher
makes an
can't be
appearance.
any from another universe.
Oh, he can't.
Oh, that sounds really fun,
Yeah.
man. They're
I-
going to
I-
blend
I
Is it
don't-
Dolph Lundgren as the Punisher?
I don't want to address
Yeah.
your question, sir.
Oh, so
I literally
is there
like
a
it's not a
post-credits
spoiler
sequence?
question.
There is not a post-credit scene that I'm aware of.
Okay.
So
There was not one in our screening. But that sometimes happened in press screenings because people kept asking me if I saw the Pirates one, which I didn't see in my screening.
no, I didn't see the
So I'm
Pirates
like,
one
all
either.
right.
I don't think I really needed to see the Pirates one.
I actually hear that Pirates one is pretty good.
I think I'm good. I think 2.5 hours of that movie's enough for me.
All right, well, you know where we get to talk about pirates in the box office report. Ashley, you want to introduce it?
Yes, after the long holiday weekend, it's time for the weekend box office report. Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales led the way this Memorial Day, pulling in $77 million over the 4-day weekend for the #1 spot. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 took the number 2 spot with $25.2 million for a total domestic gross now at $338.5 million. Baywatch floundered in its opening weekend, taking the number 3 spot with $23 million off of a $70 million budget. Alien Covenant dropped a massive 71% in its second weekend, landing in the number 4 spot with $13.2 million. Rounding out the top 5 is WB's Everything Everything, which dropped 47% in its second weekend, bringing in $7.4 million. Mark, thoughts on the weekend box office results?
It's a little lower than I thought it would be for Memorial Day weekend. It's the big summertime, and here comes Memorial Day with Pirates and The Rock and... okay, $77 million is nothing to sneeze at, and Pirates crushed overseas as well, I believe. So it's going to be just fine making its money back, and I think we'll probably get more Pirates movies. And I didn't hate Pirates. I felt like they really had an opportunity to do something special, and it just felt like another okay Pirates movie. I think the big story here, as much as I want to talk about how great Guardians is, and it keeps on chugging and making a lot of money, is that movie beat out a new release, Baywatch, and a movie that has been released more recent than Guardians, and that's Alien Covenant. I mean, we talked about Alien Covenant last week having a disappointing opening, and then it's like, okay, well, maybe if word of mouth can help it hold a little bit, 71% drop. Oof. Yikes. And then Baywatch shows up like Flounder in Animal House. You guys playing cards? It's not working.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Great reference.
Going back to Pirates. So Pirates clearly did not make as much money as some of the previous films stateside, but I think the stat is that it is now the 12th largest overseas opening of all time. These Pirates movies are not going anywhere.
People love Ghost Sharks, Perri.
Well, they do. I do love Ghost Sharks, actually.
Awesome.
So you know what? But really, that franchise is not going anywhere. We've known for years that it is fizzling out domestically. It's doing very well internationally. And that's a perfect example of sometimes where something cannot do well in the States and the overseas box office intake just carries it away. And that's what's happening there. I don't know if that's going to happen to poor Baywatch. I mean, I thought it was going to open, not great, but I didn't think it was going to open that low, especially for Memorial Day weekend when you would think that, like, this is the time of year you kind of want to see something like that. But I don't know. Maybe the reviews just hurt it. We'll get to more Guardians talk later. But, like, rah, Guardians. I'm so excited. I'm very sad about Alien Covenant, though. Because the stat that Box Office Mojo gave was Alien Covenant's weekend 1 to 2 drop was the second largest of all time, and the only one that is ahead of it is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, but that movie opened with $169 million, so you kind of can't compare the two. I'm curious to see what that one winds up with at the end. Another really big deal at two really big deals at the box office this week. Beauty and the Beast now has a domestic cumulative total that tops 500 million, and that makes it the 8th film of all time to reach that milestone. And another really big deal: Fate of the Furious became the 6th film of all time to cross $1 billion at the international box office. So now it's top is Avatar, Titanic, Furious 7, Star Wars The Force Awakens, Jurassic World, and then Fate of the Furious. So Pirates isn't going anywhere, and the Fast and Furious movies aren't going anywhere either. Reilly, what do you think of these box office numbers?
They're crazy. These, like, Fate of the Furious and Fast 7 are now in the top 6 highest grossing all time.
It's called the dumbing, Mark. That's what's happening.
I mean, look, I am not going to bemoan anybody that loves these movies. They don't do it for me, but hey, they're making a ton of money. They're going to keep coming. Great. Pirates of the Caribbean, it's a guilty pleasure of mine. I wanted to see it this weekend, but I opted to pirate my own Duffy ship instead at the beach and have some wine on that little vessel and pretend.
Did you see any sharks?
There's
a crap ton of great whites in Orange County.
There's a lot of great white sharks out there swimming up the coast.
Sharks. I'm like, did you see any ghost sharks?
Thankfully, I'm in the bay, and so I did see some seals because I think they're running away from the sharks. There it is. Look, Dead Men Tell No Tales. It's gonna make its money. It's gonna make a lot of money. I think Baywatch. What's interesting about Baywatch is I think it's going to do well overseas because of the brand Baywatch. It was like that was more popular overseas. Baywatch was. David Hasselhoff, national treasure all over the world.
Legend
right?
in Germany.
Legend in Germany.
Legend.
And then you have The Rock. So I think it's going to do well. The Rock took on Movie Mance on Twitter, saying as such. I don't know if you saw this.
I did see
Movie
that.
Mance going in with his box office report. And The Rock said, listen, brother, we still have some international markets. It's going to open a lot of, like, all over the world. We'll see how it does. For me, though, it's Alien Covenant dropping that 71%. I wonder now if Ridley Scott is going to get to finish he is swinging for the fences with this thing. I really admire Prometheus. I really enjoyed that movie, and I admired that he was still going for it with Alien, but that's where that movie fell apart for me because he's shoehorning those aliens in there with that story he's telling about creation and David and what he's doing there with Michael Fassbender's character. I am very interested to see the conclusion of that story, but the box office results are telling me that might not happen.
Schnepp, what do you think? Bummed about Alien?
Bummed out about Alien Covenant, you know. Yeah. I'm sorry that all of you sci-fi horror fans are not going to go see this movie because it really is worth seeing in the theater.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever you care about, whether you hated Prometheus or like you don't like Alien or you love Alien, and I think it's a fun horror film. I think there's a lot of things that Scott misses. Like, he doesn't do enough to cover the bases for the people who loved Prometheus. Like, he drops a lot of those things and brings back Alien because he feels like, oh, everyone was crying about Alien. I thought that thing was, you know, what he likes to say, it was toast or burnt is what he likes to say. Mm-hmm. He has a very weird way of phrasing it. Look, to see it drop 71% is kind of a bummer because it's a movie that takes risks. It's not afraid to be different. It has a very cool storyline, I think. And there's a lot of, there's some holes, there's plot holes. Guess what? There's bigger plot holes in The Fast and the Dumb than you could possibly ever imagine. And that just made $1 billion. So it's kind of embarrassing that the movie-going public is so constantly cracking on a garbagey type of film, which really literally is just like a bunch of cool stunts and some dumb guy saying family 1 million times. It means nothing. It's meaningless and stupid. Yet when somebody tries to make something that has a little bit of some kind of a storyline, oh, there's a plot hole. Oh, it's like this. Everyone who complained and cried about that movie, I say F you.
Oh, all right.
Schnepp.
Well, there you go. I mean,
Seal Schnepp.
yeah.
Seals love Fast and Furious.
Okay,
Hey, look,
that's
I got a little hot-headed. Look, if you didn't like Alien Covenant, F you.
Well, your daily FU from the team over at Movie Talk. All right, let's move on to buy or sell, the point in the show when we get to talk about some movie news stories and then say whether we buy or sell them. Ashley, what's first on the list today?
Fingerprint Releasing and Bleecker Street have released the first trailer and poster for Steven Soderbergh's Logan Lucky. Trying to reverse a family curse, brothers Jimmy, played by Channing Tatum, and Clyde Logan, played by Adam Driver, set out to execute an elaborate robbery during the legendary Coca-Cola 600 race at Charlotte Motor Speedway. But to do so, they're going to need some help, and that's where Joe Bang, played by Daniel Craig, comes in. The ensemble cast also includes Seth MacFarlane, Katie Holmes, Hilary Swank, Catherine Watterson, and Sebastian Stan. It hits theaters this summer on August 18th. Perri, buy or sell the first trailer for Logan Lucky?
Big buy for me. I am so happy Soderbergh is back and he's making movies, and I'm going to keep calling this movie Lucky Logan. So in advance, I'm going to warn you, I'm going to say this title wrong until the day it comes out. But this looks to me like something that is going to tap into something he did so well with Ocean's 11, but there's enough flair and originality to it that it's going to feel like something different at the same time. So I'm really thinking that this might be the perfect blend of the two. And damn, this cast. I am so excited to see Channing Tatum and Adam Driver be a little bit of a team. And Daniel Craig, he's so funny. He's so funny. I'm so excited to see him kind of like let loose and really sink his teeth into a really kooky role. And, I know that in context of a full film, some of those little one-liners might not play the same way that they're playing in a trailer, but damn, that is good for a marketing campaign. And I just already get the feeling like he's having a lot of fun with that role. I can't wait to see this group together. I mean, I'm thrilled about this. Yay, Soderbergh. So glad you're back on the big screen. Ellis, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, didn't Soderbergh retire like a couple years ago?
He said he was, I'm done with movies. Thank God he's not. Go ahead.
I am so happy he is back because you're right. Daniel Craig steals this trailer from me. This story takes place in my birth state of North Carolina, and I totally believe there's a lot of people around there exactly like this, and I might be one of them because this looks like a lot of fun. It's a great concept. Soderbergh works really well with huge cast, Channing Tatum. Even what Soderbergh was able to do in Ocean's 11, but also Magic Mike was a fun road trippy kind of movie, or at least XXL should have been. So I think that this has a lot of potential. That poster is really clean too. Yeah. That's a nice looking poster. I'm in on this movie.
Reilly, what you think?
Oh, big buy for me. I share all your sentiments. It's so great to see Steven Soderbergh back. And I'm going to kind of jump off of what you said off air, I'll let you expand, but it reminded me of a Coen Brothers movie, and I loved seeing that. And this has the humor so set that they actually put it in the marketing materials and introducing Daniel Craig. I love that.
Yeah.
That's where it's like, yeah, we know. We're coming after it. We're just having fun. Everybody just looks on point. Channing Tatum and Adam Driver just look absolutely like they're having a blast. Their characters seem interesting. All the way down to the little touches of they're playing horseshoes with toilet seat covers.
So amazing.
And he's like, yeah, I got all the Twitters. I know all the Twitters. I'm stealing that too. I love it. Everything about this just screams that he's back. Soderbergh is back in a big way. I enjoyed the hell out of all the Ocean's movies, but I think this might actually be one of my favorites based on this trailer alone.
The
Yeah.
Twitter guy was Jack Quaid,
There
Dennis
it is.
Quaid's son. He was he was in
Oh, I
Hunger
didn't know that.
Games, and I was all excited for him because I thought, he was going to kind of climb the ladder and becoming the next big thing. So I'm excited he's in a Soderbergh movie now.
Well,
Shep, what do you think?
He's on all the Twitters.
I got a
So
chance
all
to
the
watch
Twitters.
the trailer with Reilly. We were both laughing, like on cue at all the
Yep.
points. And literally, right when it ended, we were like, let's go back. And like, it feels like a Coen Brothers movie. Who wrote this? Rebecca Blunt. Who's that? This is her first movie. Good job, Rebecca, with all these. All the trailer is great. Soderbergh is back. I mean, I'm so glad to hear that he didn't retire from movies. Because you know why he was going to retire? Because the stupid state of filmmaking now is like where a genius like Soderbergh can't get money to make a stupid movie, yet all these other horrible crap films
Oh, boy.
that were released this
Here
weekend.
comes Fast and Furious.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about Fast and Furious.
Cue the
Just
seal.
dumb, simplistic, foolish films. Like you see them like billboards everywhere. Like, duh, come see my movie. Spend $100 million. An artist like Soderbergh is like, can I please get $5 million? F you, Soderbergh. Get out of here. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. The guy who like pretty much put Sundance on the map. You can't give him $5 million to make a movie. Sorry, man. It's probably cost more to make Logan Lucky. Maybe it was 10. It looks great. Sorry to be such a bummer.
I love how but when
I
you get
can't-
angry and you have the Ewok, it's like you're Dr. Moreau and he's the little red guy on your shoulder.
Ellis,
who's
it's not
just-
an Ewok. It's Squargles, my special hybrid cat.
Can I just say how your shirt is great? Your Deadpool shirt is great. The only shirt that could top that is Adam Driver's Bob Seger shirt that he's wearing in that poster.
Can I just
want
say,
that.
the cast alone, Hilary Swank, I mean, just everyone that he handpicked to be, just even if they have a walk-on, you see him in the trailer, Adam Driver, Channing Tatum, Channing Tatum is gold when he does comedy now. I'm so glad he's not doing Gambit and he's doing movies like this. He should stay in the world of comedy because he's a comedy genius. He's a natural. I can't wait to see this. Daniel Craig, everything about this movie made me laugh. I can't wait to see it.
I didn't expect this conversation to get so fiery. Glad it
Like it.
did. All right, let's move on to our next story, Ashley.
Over the long weekend, another milestone was reached, this time for Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. In its fourth weekend of release, the sequel officially passed the original film at the box office with a total that now stands at $788.6 million worldwide. For comparison, the first Guardians of the Galaxy made $773 million worldwide during its entire box office run back in 2014. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is now the second most successful first sequel in the Marvel Cinematic Universe behind Avengers Age of Ultron. Schnepp, do you buy or sell Volume 2 ultimately hitting the $1 billion mark at the box office based on these numbers?
Finally, we could talk about a movie that deserves to make $1 billion, and that's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It's so much fun. Look, I had said, hey, it's not as good as the first one, but that's because the first one is a masterpiece. It's hard to get better than the first one when you're introducing a brand new world, a cosmic galaxy. It's like, so for a lot of young kids, it's their Star Wars of this generation. So for me to see a sequel that just brings everybody back, all the characters get their flavor back, everyone gets really cool scenes. It's so much fun. I'm so happy to hear that James Gunn is doing Volume 3. I'd be disappointed if he wasn't. I think his take, his originality, his tone, everything that he is from all of his other movies, including Slither, everything that he's done before is encompassed in this kind of cool cosmic world of Guardians of the Galaxy, and everyone across the globe is responding to it. So happy to see that it's going to make $1 billion.
Yeah, I am buying this too. One, because I love the movie and I think it deserves all this money. And two, because I'm super competitive, and that means I'm going to hopefully win our little box office, our summer box office competition. I was kind of trying to compare it a little bit to some of the other MCU movies to see where it would end up down the line. And so right now it would be behind Civil War, which domestically had 408 million. And then that wound up, that week 4 domestic for that was 377. So I really think that there's a good chance that Guardians of the Galaxy, all right, maybe not past that, but I'm trying to figure out where it's going to settle down, and I feel like it might be. I want to see it past Civil War. I mean, mainly just because I'm really competitive and I want to win this competition. But I feel like that could happen. I'm really happy that it's making a lot of money. I got to go with Wendy to the opening of the ride the other week, and not only was that a great event, but then when the ride officially opened that Saturday, apparently that line was something like 5 hours long. It reached all the way to the park entrance, and I know that a ride is different from a movie, but that just goes to show, and it's kind of making me think back to what we were talking about Wonder Woman, about just this overwhelming sense of positivity and fun and love that you can have for a project, and then how that just radiates out to everything. I mean, the fact that a community would come there and make it such a priority. I know it's a mix of Guardians fans and then also diehard Disney theme park fans, but that really means something. So I am so happy for this whole team here. Reilly, what do you think?
I love this too. I love that James Gunn is going to come back and finish his trilogy. He's already teasing a lot of changes, that we could see a new Guardians of the Galaxy team form up in part 3. We're going to probably get Adam Warlock. I'm excited about that. He's going to introduce more characters from the MCU, cosmic universe. It sounds like even that Kevin Feige wants to set up a cosmic universe that could branch off of this Guardians of the Galaxy. So the fact that this is happening, that this box office is surpassing the original, starting to creep up on Civil War, Iron Man 3, Avengers Age of Ultron, and the Avengers, it shows that it's one of the most popular brands, one of the most popular MCU entries. So I think Volume 3 could just destroy it when it comes out sooner or later. I don't know. I don't think they've dated it yet. But I'm very excited to see what the future holds for Guardians of the Galaxy, and I couldn't be more happy for James Gunn, who is just one of the best guys to follow on Twitter, somebody that appreciates the fans like this and puts his heart and soul in this. I mean, it is, like you said, Schnepp, a version of the Star Wars for today's generation, and rightly so. I mean, that movie came out, the original, and just blew me away. I'm happy to see this, and I think the box. I don't think it's ultimately going to hit 1 billion
Well,
worldwide.
Yeah, I was jumbling up my numbers a little bit.
Yeah,
before.
I think it's got a lot. It's got. I mean, I think Avengers: Age of Ultron finally hit 1 billion, but I think that it's going to get damn close. It's going to end. Obviously, it's a mega super success. We'll see what Volume 3 has.
Just to clarify what I botched before. So right now, Guardians 2 is at $338 domestic. I'm just talking domestic right now, and I'm talking in millions, not $338. So $338, and then if you compare, so Iron Man 3 at the end of week 4 was at $372. Civil War was at $377. So clearly, Guardians 2 is a little ways behind, but clearly it's wishful thinking to think that it will top those, but at the same time, long legs do change the game later on, so we'll see.
No, I know, because I got the longest legs in the movie punditry industry, and I can tell you guys that I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is good enough to where I didn't love it like Schnepp as much as the first one, but I had a great time with it, to where James Gunn earned another movie. In the fans' opinion, it's like, maybe we didn't love it quite as much as we loved Guardians of the Galaxy, but we want to see more adventures in this universe, so it's fair to compare it to Star Wars, or even to Marvel movies in the MCU, because if you look at a sequel like Iron Man 2 or Thor: The Dark World, I think a lot of people would say Guardians Volume 2 stacks up favorably to those movies, but it doesn't quite get to Winter Soldier. But I had fun, so much fun with the first Guardians that I compare it to other movies I had that much fun with. So you look at it like Raiders of the Lost Ark, where then Temple of Doom came out. And I liked Temple of Doom, didn't have as much fun with it as Raiders. Back to the Future, the most fun movie ever made. Back to the Future 2 and 3, had fun with them, not as much as the first one. So hopefully Guardians 3 can get back to that Guardians level, but even if it doesn't, I'm still going to enjoy another ride. Speaking of rides, if your movie makes $1 billion worldwide, you have enough money to crave out a new space in Disneyland and build a park so you don't have to take out the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. I missed that ride.
As long as they don't touch the one in Orlando, this is fine by me. It was a lot of fun. All right, now we're done with Buy or Sell. Before we move on to Mailbag, I want to remind you guys that we're going to save some time to take your live Twitter questions, so please start sending those over to the Twitter account, Collider Video. Wendy's going to pick some out. Right now, I got some plugs for you. So later today, we have a live episode of Heroes with Schnepp going up at 1 p.m. Woohoo. Yeah. There's also a brand new Schmodown coming out today. It's a team match. It's going to feature the Night Sisters going up against a brand new team called Deep Cuts. You're going to want to check that out. As always, we had a new episode of Awesome-tacular come out on Friday. You can find that link in the show notes here, right in this video. And then there's also an Awesome-tacular playlist. So if you're one of those people who complain about not being able to watch an Awesome-tacular episode if you don't live in the U.S., you can watch it right here on the channel. Just check out that Awesome-tacular playlist. And then also, this is a big thing. I'm going to take the time to explain the rules properly to you. If you want to see The Mummy, Collider is teaming up with IMAX and Universal, and we're having a screening of the movie in IMAX 3D on June 6th in New York City. And that's not all. Not only if you go to this will you get to see the movie early, but you're also going to get to see a Q&A with director Alex Kurtzman, Tom Cruise, and the whole cast.
Woo!
So now, yeah. Hold on, though. I got to explain to you how this could possibly happen. I can't really. But there's an article on Collider.com. Check that out. But really, what the thing is to do, if you want to go to this right now, there's no travel included, so you need to be local. But also, it's going to be a first-come, first-served thing, so you want to keep an eye on Collider.com very soon. I believe at some point today, because there's going to be some sort of RSVP service that goes up. So you got to be there at your computer and just like type it in, and then you're going to get to go. You're going to see all this cool stuff, hopefully. I'm really excited about this movie. So for all you guys who get to go, do enjoy. These are great events. All right, so now let's move on to Mailbag. Ashley, what do we got today?
Gavin Kelly writes, "Hey guys, love the show. Perry for president." Question: I was watching Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy recently, and given how well he directed all three, do you think it's best for one director to take the reins for a trilogy, or like the original and new Star Wars trilogies? Is new blood better for each movie behind the director's chair? Best wishes from Ireland.
It's funny that we've been talking so much about Guardians, because I think that's kind of the perfect example. I feel like it's a case-by-case basis. Guardians in particular, it is so important to have James Gunn's style, and also because the movies you mentioned before, Schnepp, things like Slither and Super, I actually really didn't like Super, but I could see how those movies paved the way to what he's accomplished in Guardians. And I feel like if anybody stepped in to direct Guardians 3, it would be a situation where it would feel like they would have to copy Gunn's style, because it is so distinct to him, it is so distinct to the series, and nobody can do that. Then again, I look on the opposite side of it, and I think about something like Star Wars, and I do understand that we haven't seen The Last Jedi, so it's not a situation yet where we've had one director direct a trilogy of films, like one complete story that spans multiple installments. But the choice to go with other directors, especially for these standalone movies like Rogue One, I mean, Rogue One, it felt very important to me for that movie to feel distinctly different from something like The Force Awakens. So in that universe, I think it works. Case by case kind of thing. Schnepp, what do you think?
Perry, there was one director who spanned all three movies, George Lucas.
Well, no, yeah. I mean in the new
But
ones.
I'm just saying, but Peter Jackson he also did the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which I think is a masterpiece, but yet he also did the Hobbit trilogy, which the less said about, the better. So, I mean, I feel like, look, I mean, Peter Jackson is an incredible filmmaker. I think maybe The Hobbit should have been one movie, and the stretching of it just kind of ruined a lot, at least for myself. So I go back to The Lord of the Rings, and I think that's perfect. I don't really myself personally need to see the 40-hour version or the extended, all of the, I love them, just the movies, the 3-hour movies are long enough for me to enjoy and watch all three of them. So I think, one person's vision sometimes is really important. So someone like James Gunn, it's really important to have him stay on and finish Volume 3, just as it was to see Peter Jackson finish, Return of the King. When they went about it with like, look, we're going to shoot him back to back, then we're going to take a break, then so when they were doing that original trilogy, they really knew that they were going to have him at the helm for all three of those films. Sometimes when it's set out that way, it's really important. Other times when you have something like, the Star Wars prequels, where the first one kind of flip-flops. I mean, they all made money, but it's just, when you look back at them, even back then, I didn't like them. So it's sort of like, it's a case-by-case scenario.
What are you thinking, Reilly?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. It is case by case, and like if you think Lord of the Rings is the perfect example I have, because that was Peter Jackson making one giant movie. He filmed everything concurrently, back to back to back to back, and then released it one after the other over 3 years. So I think that was a specific vision. It was a passion project of his. And then, of course, the less said about The Hobbit, the better. I agree with you, Schnepp. I think that was just a little bloated because they're trying to take a book that thick, and they made 3 movies. I still wish we had Guillermo del Toro's The Hobbit.
Right.
That is something that was so amazing to think about when it was initially announced. But again, that was a case-by-case basis. Now I think about Marvel. James Gunn absolutely has to finish Guardians of the Galaxy because that is his vision. But then I think about Joe Johnston doing Captain America, the first Avenger, and then the Russo brothers stepping in, and they're just killing it. And then instead of having Whedon complete an Avengers trilogy, we have the Russos jumping over for the all-encompassing Infinity War two-parter. Russos are going to do that. So again, case by case, I go back to the original trilogy, and I thought it benefited from having different voices in there. And Irvin Kershner coming in and making arguably the best Star Wars movie in Empire Strikes Back, set the tone for the next movie, Return of the Jedi. Again, I love that movie. It would have been interesting to see a David Lynch Return of the Jedi. All of those movies just benefited from that initial vision, but working with Lucas, who is the puppet master of that original trilogy. Yeah, case by case, I think Nolan with the Dark Knight trilogy, I think he nailed it. That was a very specific vision of his, and I thought he just knocked it out of the park.
Well, collaboration is also important too.
So
I mean,
important.
you bring up maybe like George Lucas possibly being like an overseeing type role, and also you just brought up Guillermo del Toro, so it's kind of making me think about what he decided to do with Pac Rim. It's like there's a way to make these things work if someone doesn't want to continue on with a franchise, because it's also important to point out that it's not just about, like you get the job to direct all the movies. That director also has to have a degree of a very specific type of stamina to be able to keep it up, keep the bar that high. And with what Guillermo decided with Pac Rim, it makes me think that he made the decision that it is best to pass along those duties to someone else, but he is also going to be in an overseeing role, and that to me is a step forward rather than leaving me in a position where I'm like, I'm worried it's not going to be a GDT movie now.
Look, I mean, my memory isn't great, so I'm either a lawyer or I've just been to court a number of times, but I can tell you this. I was trying to make a case as to whether you should have one director do trilogies or have different people. I think the stronger case is have one director see all of them through, because I look at Star Wars now as more of a franchise going forward than just like this new trilogy they have is great, but there's going to be more episodes and there's going to be more standalone movies. If you look at the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, that's a masterpiece. Classic Star Wars had different directors, but clearly George Lucas was overseeing all facets of production. Even if Kershner took the Empire Strikes Back story in a different way than George Lucas would have ideally liked, you still have George Lucas's hand in that. Back to the Future, all Robert Zemeckis. Indiana Jones, all Steven Spielberg. So I think that there's a point when, as long as the director does not become omnipotent, like what happened with Peter Jackson with the Hobbit trilogy or George Lucas with the prequels, as long as there's some sort of oversight by a studio, by a producer that's able to come in and say, I think we should go in this direction, there's some collaborative effort. I like having a director's single vision attached to a trilogy. For the most part, with the Marvel movies, I don't even look at those as like, that's the Captain America trilogy, that's Iron Man trilogy. They all fit in the larger MCU, so that's more of a franchise to me than just standalone trilogies.
Hey, can I add a little side note? A friend of mine just told me a fun little Irvin Kershner story. He went to Irvin Kershner's house, and you know how a lot of people have pictures of their family all around? There's just one giant picture of Yoda, like from The Empire Strikes Back, of him like serenely looking up. And he's like, why do you just have that one picture of Yoda like in the centerpiece of your house? And Irvin Kershner looked at him, he's like, well, he bought it.
Was your friend invited to Irvin Kershner's house, or
Yes.
was he just there?
No, he was invited.
Oh, okay, good.
It'd be more exciting if he was just there.
Yeah, it's a dude that broke into
I was
Kershner's
randomly
place.
trying to steal some Empire Strikes Back, but Kershner was there.
Did you think Richard Marquand would have one of those?
No one has my friend Squargles but me.
I'm pretty sure that's not even yours.
It's not mine.
All right, so that's it for Mailbag. If you want your question answered here on a Movie Talk episode or on one of our weekend Mailbag shows, send them on over to collidervideo@gmail.com. All right, Twitter time. Let's squeeze in a few. Wendy, what do we have?
All right, this first one comes from Randall Collier, who writes, I was really excited to hear the early Rotten Tomato scores for Wonder Woman, but it's only about 50 reviews. Could it fall under 90%?
I would be surprised, I think, if it fell under 90. I definitely think it's going to drop a little bit because it is, it's only 50 reviews. I know for a fact that there are big screenings coming up, like all media type screenings, where even more people that normally post to Rotten will go see it. But really, the fact that I think the last time I checked Rotten, there were 2 negative reviews. that is still nothing compared to the 50 whatever that are up now. I'd be shocked if it fell below 90.
Yeah, there's only 50 reviews up now. I mean, okay, so let's look at 95 as like that's the playing field. Okay, it's a level playing field. So how many negative reviews are going to come from now to eternity, and how many positive reviews are? I think it's going to be more positive than negative, but it might dip slightly. So I'd say Wonder Woman's landing spot, I'm going to go with 88% lifetime.
wow.
I think that's what it's going to be lifetime, because usually the score goes down a little bit. I'd love for it to stay, and I haven't added my review yet to Rotten Tomatoes, so it will continue to be up around there and competitive, but I think 88 is a safe landing spot.
All right, guys, under, over 90. What do you think?
I think it's going to stay over 90 because I look at the percentage of how many reviews are in, and this is like the grand, like a lot of our colleagues that have reviewed the movie, and it's overwhelmingly positive. So I believe it's going to stay, and there'll be some rotten scores, I'm sure, but I believe it's going to stick around 90, maybe even 91%.
What do you think, Schnepp?
I'd say 89, 90. I'll skim the surface. 89.5. Yeah.
All right, let's take 2 more Twitter questions. What's next,
Okay.
Wendy?
This one comes from Canadian Pat493, who writes, "Hey guys, what do you think of directors retiring? Tarantino, Soderbergh, it doesn't seem like something to be taken seriously."
I don't know. They're human beings. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how many times that I've said things and then just gone and done them anyway. Not
Right.
that I'm ever retiring. That is a big statement to make, especially when you're in the public eye so much, but I don't really care. I admire them. They make great movies. So what? Let them backtrack and make more.
Miyazaki retired, and he's like super old, and he just came out of retirement to direct another cartoon, and everyone's excited. I mean, I think, when you retire is when you're dead. That's what I think, especially if you're a filmmaker, an artist, or a creative. I think people are like, I'm retiring. When they say that, it's because they're sick of all the bullshit that they've had to deal with in this stupid industry. That's what it is when they're like, I'm done. I'm going to enjoy my life and go hang out at a creek or something. That's when they're like, I'm going to retire because all these idiot morons I've had to deal with are ruining my life. So I'm just going to look at turtles. But you know what? Then they get a second, they're like, what am I doing? I've got all this amazing stuff I want to say. So that's why I'm so happy to see Soderbergh back in action. I don't want Tarantino to ever retire. I want to make 40 movies. I know we're going to get at least 2 more from him. That's how it is. People say, look, I'm taking a break. They take a break. Then they're like, what am I doing? They come back. And they have every right to, just like Jay-Z. He didn't retire. Nobody retires.
Riley, what do you think?
I like it. Yeah, well, as Michael Jordan taught us, you can retire and then come back. You can go play baseball a little
Totally.
bit. You can come back. You can be Brett Favre and retire, or then maybe go back and play for your rival. But with Steven Soderbergh, thank God he's coming back. It would be stupid to go, nope, you're retired. I'm not seeing your movie. Like, why? It's like a sport. I'm surprised I got the sports reference before you, Ellis.
I was going there.
I'm sure you were. But it's like sports. They have this creative drive in them that if they take a little time off, like you said, Schnepp, could be for bullshit reasons, or they're tired, or they just want to go spend time with their family. Mm-hmm. But that drive in them, that competitiveness, to be like, they either get an idea and they go, I got to see this out now, and they come back, and thank God they do.
That's right. Marshawn Lynch.
There you
another
go.
one.
Keep going.
Yeah, Tony Romo retired, and now they're like, oh, well, maybe if the situation was right, maybe he would come back. The only reason athletes retire as long as they do is because their bodies physically cannot handle the rigors of the game anymore. When you look at a director, I think that this is somebody who's used to being behind the camera. When they get put on a pulpit and they're talking into a microphone, they love talking because they have ideas. They love communicating, but sometimes they get caught up in the moment, Schnepp. And I think it's fair if somebody wants to say we're retired, whether it's Steven Soderbergh or whether it's Kiss, and you're like, oh no, this is the last time we're going to do it. Kiss does it for less savory reasons than a director does it, because Kiss or Motley Crue, whoever it is, they're like, oh no, this is the last tour, so you better pay us now because we're never going to do this again except for in 3 years when we again want your money. But as far as Soderbergh goes, it's not like he's saying, nah, and then we have to pay $30 a ticket to go see his movie. It doesn't hamper me in my everyday life. Like, I'm not at Subway trying to pay for a sandwich, and I'm like, oh, right, Soderbergh's retired, so I don't have money anymore. Like, it's going to be okay. And I think Soderbergh coming back to the fray, I think it's good news. If a director says they want to retire, and then they want to take a few years off, then they can come back, cool with me.
All right, I am retiring from taking to Twitter questions, so that's it. Show's over. Oh, you know what, Wendy? Do we have one more?
Yeah!
One more.
Everyone's coming back.
I have one more. Okay, so this one comes from M, who writes, thoughts on Sofia Coppola becoming the first female director in 71 years to win Best Director at Cannes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love hearing
Sophia.
that.
I know.
Who here is excited for The Beguiled?
I am.
I
I
can't
am
wait.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see The Beguiled, man. I mean, Colin Farrell, just don't do it. Just don't, whatever you did in that movie, just don't do it, man. It is not a good idea. I also really liked, I think this is a con too over the weekend, what Jessica Chastain said about women and their representation in film, how it needs to improve from the movies that she saw at a film festival. So I'm glad she's out there making these kind of statements. It helps the industry.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff is coming out of Cannes, and you know, it's all this stuff with female directors and female filmmakers taking off. I've been really interested in seeing all the Netflix stuff, the conversations that are happening with that. I mean, definitely, if you have not been keeping an eye on everything going on at Cannes this year, it is well worth just Googling and sorting through a whole bunch of those articles, because there's a lot of things that could be game changers, that are going to be game changers for everybody in this industry in the very near future and well beyond that. But I am so excited for Sofia Coppola. I'm a big fan of hers, and I am counting down until I can see The Beguiled, which I think is coming up kind of soon.
Yeah.
The Beguiled comes out soon, and also, you know what's coming out next year? A movie because of a tweet. Rihanna with Peter Nyong'o, Ava
yeah.
DuVernay.
Yeah.
Let's get this heist comedy rolling.
I think
Can't
that's
wait.
one of my favorite news stories of all time. That is really one of the best things to ever come out of the internet.
It's the greatest thing I saw on the internet since that bear went on the trampoline and then went off, but he was okay. So
Well, that's a really happy note to end this episode on Movie Talk. So
Yay.
that's it. It's over. Jon Schnepp, where can everyone find you?
You can find me and Squargles at just at Jon Schnepp on Twitter and Instagram, and go to my Kickstarter, Isolated Mutations of the Assembly Line Baby. It's the last 2 weeks to get my weird book.
Mark Reilly.
At Reilly Around on Twitter and Instagram. And for those of you in the States, go check out Verizon Go 90 Awesome Tacular, the latest one. If you want to see me as a clown, I pull out the Pennywise voice that I originated on Collider Nightmares. We had a hell of a time. It was a lot of fun. And don't worry, guys, it's going to then come on our playlist, so you'll be able to check it out sooner or later. We'll see you there.
The most disturbing part of that sketch is just how good you are at being that clown.
Oh,
I feel
thank
like you would have never broken character if you could stay
Can
that
you
way.
dress like that for the Nightmares episode next week?
Yeah, right?
I wish.
Oh, my
I
gosh.
wish.
Let's get that makeup artist back in
Yeah.
again. That was some good makeup.
Ellis, where can everyone find you?
Mutated Heads, Pennywise. Woo! You can find me at the Comedy Store this Saturday. I'm doing a special show. David Spade's on it. My BFF, Eliza Schlesinger. Maybe Squarbles opens a show. You can get tickets at my site or on Twitter and use the promo code SCHMOES.
Ashley Mova.
Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Ashley Mova. Happy Tuesday, guys.
And lastly, we've got Wendy.
The Movie Couple channel on YouTube, at Wendy Lee Zaney on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat.
And before we close out, I want to thank the guys in the back. We have Dennis, Adam, Cody. Yay, you guys rock. You guys can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at Perri Nemiroff. And also Collider Behind the Scenes every Saturday. We had a Mummy event air last week. And this week, this Saturday, it's going to be a whole episode about me and Wendy going and riding the new Guardians ride. So go check that out. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.